Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode one of the Marketing Access Scorecard podcast. We'll be talking about a lot of different things. Let me show you my screen so you'll see our wonderful, lovely logo that my husband did. The Marketing Access Scorecard, the podcast, episode one, Achieving Hispanic and Multicultural Marketing Excellence. It's about going after excellence in marketing. And I think this will be really intended to be a little bit more informal than most podcasts, a little bit sillier, a little bit crazier, but definitely focused on marketing excellence and on very specific opportunities. Let me tell you a little story about myself to give you a perspective on who I am. And I've been in marketing research for 45 years or more and more. So a long time and doing a lot of different research, almost always focused on the U.S. Hispanic market, but not just. So doing a lot of other things as well. But it's really been a fascinating space to work in and one that I'm particularly dedicated to because this is, after all, my community. My name is Carlos Garcia. My parents were both born in Mexico and I was born in the United States and raised in the barrio. And this is a community that I really relate to, I really connect to, I really care about and defend. Give you an example. I was at a marketing research conference. The Insights Association is the association for marketing research professionals. And they have conferences and they have little meetings, and some of them are local and some of them are national. At a local meeting in Dallas, where I happened to be visiting a friend, went to a conference there, and people were asked, "So, what is your market research? Why is your market research different from all other market research companies?" It was, and they said, and the first person, it's like 40, 50 people in the room. Anyway, the first person said clients. Second person said clients. Third person said client service. Fourth person, all about my clients, and on and on and on and on and on. All around the room, everybody said client, 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 client service, exceeding expectations, doing a great job for my clients, really being there for my clients, meeting with my clients, feeling like I'm a part of their team. Everything was all about the clients, clients, clients. And all good. I mean, this is good. This is nothing terrible about any of this. But when it got to me, I said, I'm not about my clients. It was an audible gasp in the room. And I said, I'm about my clients, the consumer, the people who will be buying their goods or services or not buying their goods or services. That's who I care about. And if I keep my focus on them, then I'm doing my client a good deed. So it's not about making your client feel good or feel happy or feel validated because their idea proved to be, the one that your research liked. The point is when that client goes to market with their program or their ads or their concepts or their new product, will it work? It's about what's out there, not what you wish were out there. And it's not about making clients feel good about themselves. It's about actually serving their end users, their clients, the people who will buy their goods and services. So that's my focus. I'm always really dedicated to my consumer, dedicated to my market, particularly at a time when we're really under assault right now for no particularly good reason, because it's really, really pretty insane. Let me go ahead and share again some of my screen info, and I will show you some of the things I'll be talking about today. And this is basically a table of contents, but I'll spare you. This is all the things we're going to be going through. And a little background about myself. I'll have a lot more in my second episode. I'll show you my LinkedIn page so you can look me up there. I founded Garcia Research in 1990, and I've had actually 10 years of research before that. So I have a lot of funny stories from 45 years of research, and believe me, people are funny. So you always encounter funny things going on. So for the target audience for this, I'm really hoping to try to reach people who are in marketing and research professionals, persons who are curious about or advocating for the Hispanic market to give them some information, and professors and students of business, sociology, anthropology, or Latino Chicano studies. So basically, anybody who's really fascinated about underserved markets, hopefully we'll be able to provide some information. So the Hispanic market is huge. It's huge. It's so important. It has doubled since the year 2000. 20% of the total population is now Hispanic. And that's 68 million people. not even counting the 3 million people from Puerto Rico, which is a total of 71 million people. And after Bad Bunny led the way at the Super Bowl, gosh, that was a wonderful performance. Just so inspiring. So we all want to love and include our Puerto Ricans in our community. So that's 71 million people. The buying power is amazing. Last year it was 2.7 trillion. This year it's 3 trillion with a T, capital T. And what's interesting is that that 3 trillion is only 15% of the total US buying power. But you know that market is growing and that share is going to catch up to that 20% because of age. The Hispanics are on average 10 years younger than non-Hispanics. And when you look at the population under 18, Hispanics are 25.7% of the total. So whites are now less than 50% of the under 18 population. And by 2040, whites will be less than 50% of the total population. So things are changing, things are dramatic, things are dynamic. It's really an exciting space to be in and has been since day one. When I started in this market in 1980, it was 5% of the market. Now we're 20% of the market. Pretty exciting. So I've been very frustrated dealing with seeing what being done online and being very unhappy with it and being feeling like, especially now, that companies are kind of ignoring us to their own detriment for political reasons, which is absurd because this isn't about politics. This is about business. It's about making money. So I've decided to develop a scorecard to really hold people accountable for the work that they're doing or not doing. So, so what is the scorecard? The scorecard is intended to be a three or even four-dimensional review of everything that's being done in digital marketing towards the Hispanic space. This is led by AI, but human driven. So we're starting with AI, but we're looking for a process for triangulating the effectiveness, the overall effectiveness of digital marketing aimed at specific markets. So we use AI, yes, to provide a framework, but then we'll dive in to other areas, and we'll be using a total of four different methodologies to develop what I hope will be an effectiveness score. And it's much more than just an audit because there's an emotional aspect to it. So we're using AI, of course. You have to, it's inevitable right now. But we're also using user experience, mystery shopping, and focus groups. So one part very sort of bot driven, sort of, fact driven, and the other very emotional driven. So we really need both eyes to have a 3D vision of what's going on out there. So we'll be looking at a lot of different things, availability of Spanish on websites and apps, customer service, promotions and prices, clarity, social media presence, the visuals and images that are being used online and directed towards Hispanics, even terms and conditions and explanations and caveats. Are they understandable? Yes, no. And the fulfillment process. Well, this is where people typically drop the ball. Even if some people do a really good job in some areas, they typically drop the ball here and just dip into Spanish because they're just not following it all the way through. And it's very, very frustrating. So sometimes, to use American football reference, sometimes people fumble the ball at the snap. Sometimes they fumble it at the first yard line, and sometimes they get all the way to the 1 yard line and drop the ball right there just before scoring a touchdown. So it's very, very frustrating watching the things that are done. It could be so much better, and we really want to be part of that process of helping anybody who reaches the Hispanic space do a better job. And this is also, the return process for buying products and the emotional impact as well. So we've been looked at a lot of different categories, kind of chosen at random: consumer packaged goods, telecom, quick service restaurants, automotive, auto insurance. It does seem like every other commercial is auto insurance, doesn't it? It's like, wait a minute. I'm buying insurance not to insure my car, but to pay for insurance on ads on TV. But that's sort of frustrating. So we do have other categories we'll be looking at. And so we want this to be a very broad-based effort to try to hold the industry to account. We're going to be doing some interesting reports covering a lot of different categories and brands, but we're not here to shame anybody or to humiliate anybody. We want to help all brands do a better job. So we will be celebrating the top three brands in the top category for people who are doing a really good job, or at least better job than others. And we'll be presenting it in a quadrant analysis, very simple little quadrant analysis with, good at quant and qual, bad at both, good in one, or good in the other. So we'll have, this quadrant analysis, so people will be able, at a glance, will be able to see where they are. Right now, the version that I have has actually the brand names on there, and I didn't want to show that didn't want to embarrass anybody. So we won't embarrass anybody, but we will eventually present a coded version of that soon. The key thing we're hoping to be able to do is draw clients who are interested in doing custom studies with us. I've done custom research since 1980 in the Hispanic space, so this is something I know how to do, and I've done for a long, long time. So our goal is to help brands and anyone seeking to reach the Hispanic market how to improve their online presence and help grow their revenues and profits. Very simple. And so we want to work with you and your digital agencies, your ad agencies. We want to be your partners in this. We don't want to be your adversaries, but we will call people to the carpet in the sense that we will point out flaws. We will point out where things just fall off a cliff. So we want to make sure that the work that you're doing, the money you're spending on your advertising and your marketing is actually effective by talking to real consumers. So we can completely customize our process to address a client's specific issues and concerns. We can make it regional. We can make specific targets for specific reasons, depending on your brand and your category. We'll be available for consulting. We'll also help work with you to design a project that's absolutely best fit for you and your issues. And we can also repeat the process after you've made some corrective efforts to see if it worked. So just because we think something will work doesn't necessarily mean it'll work. Even if you test it in advance, you actually have to see it in market. Did it work in market? Because sometimes conditions change, external events change, things change. So you always need to check with the consumer to keep your finger on the pulse. So, we have this idea about doing this different type of research for different people, and we're starting with the Hispanic market because that's the market that I know best personally, and that I deeply, deeply care about. But there are other audiences to explore. One of them is the disabled. I've worked with some people who are experts in this area. Fascinating topic. And you add the neurodivergent, when you add those two together, that's like 35% of the market of the total population. Who knew? And so people are not necessarily paying attention to these specialized little targets that can collectively make a big difference in your marketing and your profitability. We also want to talk to seniors because obviously, they're not necessarily digital natives, and seniors are often left wanting for like, wait a minute, what's this? Wait a minute, how do we do this? Wait, what? Because, they didn't grow up with it. So and the people doing the designing are often brilliant and wonderful, but young and digital natives, and they don't necessarily understand what people my age don't get. So we really do want to include them. We have a lot of wisdom to bring to the party, but we also need some help getting there. Um, so we also are interested in persons with lower levels of education, and this is a large chunk of America, and people who are high school or less. Um, people were happy to ignore them until 2016 when suddenly they turned the tide and changed everything the way our country is run. But they're an important market. I mean, are you reaching them? Are they understanding you? Are they feeling excluded? Are you talking over their heads? I think we really need to talk to persons with lower levels of education as well. Obviously, African Americans are hugely important. Obviously, Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are hugely important. Obviously, LGBTQ is solid 10 to 15% of the population. You can't ignore that either. They're often thought leaders, and they're a very important and relevant audience. Um, and um, and then there's the digitally reluctant of any age. There are people who are just sort of, I don't know, want to be Luddites who just don't get it or don't want to get it. So how do you draw them in? But you got to talk to them. Let's go talk to them and find out what they're doing, what they're not doing, what's upsetting them, what's not upsetting them, what's intriguing to them. So let's try to find ways of doing this better. So happily, because I've had the opportunity to teach at Cal Poly Pomona, the business school, and I serve on the board of advisors for the Department of Digital Marketing and Consumer Insights, I got five grad students, actually six, I think, working with me, they're seeking MA degrees in digital marketing, and this is, of course, a project on digital marketing. So perfect little circle here, a virtuous circle. I'm very grateful for their assistance. They keep me on task. They remind me like, no, 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 Carlos, that's not how things are done anymore. Okay, so they're very, very useful and very, very helpful, and I really appreciate the grad students from Cal Poly Pomona. So in our next episodes, we'll be talking about a lot of different things, including my personal background. Oops, sorry. Professional background, my nonprofit background, because I've done a lot to give back to my community. Not nearly enough, of course, no one ever does, but I have a lot to be grateful for. And I'm very happy to be giving, to be able to do some giving back. Um, I'll definitely be answering questions and addressing comments from the audience because not everyone will agree with me, and I don't expect that. And I'm looking forward to having conversations in interviews with people who um, might disagree with me. And I hope that if they do, that our conversations can be civil and cordial and respectful. So, but I'll also be interviewing, over 45 years of experience, you meet a lot of really interesting people, especially in marketing research, which is an interesting little niche unto itself. Um, and I do hope to be talking to marketing research experts and talk to them about what they see, they see is going on in the market, the things that they think we could do better with our Moss scorecard. And we'll also be talking to cultural and linguistic experts, depending on the audience we're talking to, people who are expert in specific areas, and obviously funny stories. I have a lot of funny stories from nearly a half century research, and I'll share them with you. Start sharing them next time. So too much to get to today. So for reaching us, if you for information, you can go to www.massscorecard.com, mascorecard.com. And for email, it's comments@massscorecard.com. So looking forward to receiving mail from you guys. And you can see my LinkedIn profile here. It's linkedin.com/in/CGARCIA9, C Garcia 9 backslash. So that's where you can find me on LinkedIn. And if you have questions or are interested in doing custom projects and how we might go about doing that and what the rough, cost framework might be, you can go to carlos.garcia@massscorecard.com. So you can email me directly for mascarca.com at carlos.garcia. But for comments about the podcast, I'd appreciate them to go to comments@mascarca.com. So lots of interesting things going on. I really appreciate your time and energy, and I hope to be able to start a really interesting conversation around all things multicultural, particularly at a time when, we're under assault and there's no good reason for it because we represent a substantial economic opportunity for every business, for even for campaigns. Not that I would take every campaign, mind you. I do defend my community after all. So the picture behind me, by the way, is from Girona, Spain, at Christmas time. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful city. It's on the Costa Brava, just north of Barcelona, and it's really just lovely. So look forward to talking to you on a regular basis, like once a week, 15 to 20 minutes every week, and with some really interesting experts and really interesting funny stories to tell and some really interesting data to share because I will be sharing data from the Census Bureau, from the Pew, from any data I can get my hands on because it's all really, really interesting stuff. And I love my Hispanic consumers. They're such good people. They're so thoughtful and nice and hardworking and family focused, completely devoted to their families. And I love them. So here we go. A love fest. Thank you guys.